Sure shot, baby!
So, good day, everyone. We're here for another episode of the DVD show. So, for today, we have a writer for FIBA, and he also writes also here locally for the Daily Tribune and other publications. And he's also a UAAP analyst during the time when there were still basketball games here in the Philippines locally. And I'll now welcome to the DVD show Enzo Flojo. Thank you for joining me here on my podcast.
Thank you very much, Diego. Nice to be here. Nice to meet you. And,
Yeah.
I hope you're doing well. I hope all the people watching and listening are also doing well. And I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. I'm doing well naman. The term just started also for us, like the third term. We don't have summer kasi. So yeah, going back to academic mode, like you need to be ready for school. So for you, how are you doing naman? Like after the Gilas games, like you were very like you watched the games multiple times. I saw from your Twitter. So how have you been really tired? How have you been doing these past days and weeks?
Oh, well, actually, not so tired because I guess I'm still on a high from, our big wins over Korea and Indonesia in the recently concluded window in Clark. No, I mean, I'm sure you can agree that those were really, really exhilarating wins, especially the ones against Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and very, very, very happy results for the country. As Coach Tab said in the post game video that was circulating after their win, it was a great gift from the team to to the Filipino people because of what's happening around. Diba? Daming bad news around, but Gilas gave us something to be proud of, something good to happen. And okay naman. I mean, I rewatched the games, especially the ones against Korea. And it doesn't tire me, it doesn't exhaust me because for me, I don't want to sound too cliche, but basketball is a life-giving endeavor for me, whether I'm playing, sportscasting, writing about it, or watching it, or tracking stats and stuff. That's something that doesn't get me tired. Instead, it actually, it's something I look forward to doing. So it was good. There you go.
Yeah. So based on your social media, like on Twitter, I really read the tweets. You study the stats that I'm not sure if other like publications or other people would do that. Yung mga missed close outs, missed box out. Parang it's very interesting because it's unique. Like not everyone would even be willing to rewatch the games and actually like check those specific or specific movements that they did like positively or negatively. So is that like your own like own way of like studying the games only, or do you really need to do that for FIBA?
Oh no, no, I don't need to do that for FIBA. Although in some of the pieces that I write about for FIBA and for other publications, sometimes I
Mm.
inject those things, but that's my coaching side
Okay.
already.
Yeah.
Because aside from being sports media, I'm also one of the coaches for our Ateneo Blue
Oh yeah.
Eaglets team in the UAP Juniors, and that's one of the things that I contribute to the team. I'm kind of for the lack of a better term, I'm kind of the analytics guy in our
Mhm.
coaching staff. We have some former PBA players who do the skills work. We
Mm.
have great conditioning guys, coaches who do the physical conditioning and all those things. Ang toka ko, or my task, so to speak, is to take care of all the numbers, crunch them, try to find, maybe a weakness in our opponents, try to find something to work on for our guys, for our boys. So, tracking those stats for Gilas it's really something, I used to do on a regular basis back when basketball was still being played, no,
Yeah.
pre-pandemic. So it's really, really nice. And the stats like missed box outs or screen assists,
Mm.
they didn't come from me. I didn't invent them.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are stats are actually a lot. You'll be surprised, but a lot of teams in the Philippines, especially at the professional level, they actually have some people who actually do the same things. Of course, they just don't tweet it or write about it, but a lot of people pay attention to those things and actually track them the same way I do. And I know for a fact that there are a few other assistant coaches who track even more stuff than
Okay.
what I posted out there. So there it's a fun thing, a very interesting thing, especially for people who like basketball and who like numbers as well.
Do you send it to like the Gilas team or is it like for your own lang?
Oh, for this particular window, it's just really for me. I mean,
Oh, okay.
if I'm being completely candid, um, there are many of the coaches on the current Gilas coaching staff I know very well. I mean,
Yeah.
Coach Sandy and Coach Tab,
Yeah.
of course, from Ateneo also. Coach Jong with Chico is like a coaching mentor for me. Coach Boyet, I've met him a few times, but there you go. But if 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 people are wondering, do I send it to them, email it to them, or DM it to them? No, I don't, naman.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't do that. Why? Because one of their coaching staff, or one of my former students, Sandro Soriano.
Oh, okay.
He does that kind of work for Gilas, no. So he's like the scouting guru for Gilas. I'm sure he tracks the numbers, maybe even more than what I tweeted. So I'm pretty sure they've got that covered already. So I mean, that 'cause Coach Tab, he's a numbers guy, eh.
Mm.
So I'm sure he has someone assigned to that already.
Yeah, it's just very cool. That's why I wanted to start things off with that because yeah, I out of all the like reporters or analysts that watch the games, you have like something different or something unique to bring like that because they don't like show it on social media that they track those stats. So it was yeah something I wanted to start things off before moving into the games and maybe the OQT preparations for the team. So
Yeah, I mean, that's really, I love numbers ever since I was a kid.
mm,
I'm a math kid. So I
oh,
love
okay.
numbers talaga. When I was in grade school, I had those NBA trading cards, the one with
Mm.
stats at the back, and that
Yeah, yeah.
what interested me most was not the picture on the front. It was
Oh,
just the numbers at the back. So
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, it was a natural fit, I guess.
Yeah. I'm similar also because I have a lot of old NBA cards and I used to like memorize pa like who has the highest points rebound.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
diba?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love to do that. When I was much younger.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't check it anymore, but it's just there on my cabinet. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from because I was kind of similar when I was younger. So moving on to the games in the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers and going into the games, honestly, I just knew that we could beat Indonesia, but I wasn't really aware of their players because of only Lester Prosper actually. And even for Korea, like I only knew like the older batch ones, but then now it's like I wasn't really aware of them except Ratliff because I watched him play in the PBA. So yeah, it's only the imports that I was kind of familiar with. But then you with your tweets, it's like you had kind of had an idea on who these players are and who to watch out for. So going into the three games that we had and the training constraints that we had because of the ECQ, like they went out of the bubble, went back, and a lot of other difficulties. What were your expectations before the three games? Did you really think that you were gonna win the three games?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, if I'm being completely honest and
Yeah,
objective, I mean,
yeah.
you take a look at these rosters on paper. I mean, on Indonesia, for sure. I
Mm,
think everyone was confident against them, even if they had Lester Prosper. No? I mean,
yeah.
they were missing one key player. They're half American players, you Brandon Jawato, who's really good. So they
Oh
were
yeah.
missing him.
Mm,
So definitely, yeah, I felt we had the edge against Indonesia, but against Korea, again, if I'm being really, kung nagpapakatotoo lang ako, I didn't
mm,
expect that we'd beat them twice,
mm,
and I felt we'd be really lucky. I mean, lucky is a term that is, Filipinos are allergic to that term right now because of what the Korean coach said, diba? But
mm,
I felt you would be really fortunate to come out with one win. against Korea. And I think even Coach Tab said that after the window, he kind of mentioned that they were really out there to learn, and that being competitive was what they were after. But even he realistically, didn't really, expect that we'd beat Korea. Certainly not twice. No, so for me, beating Korea twice in the space of a week, I don't think that's ever happened, in the modern era of Philippine basketball.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a little bit of a minor miracle, if you ask me.
Mhm.
But again, if you look at the way these guys have been coached and the way they've really followed the system, the way that generally speaking, they've played disciplined basketball, especially on the defensive end. Because sa offense, medyo they still do some freewheeling now and then, which is
Mhm.
fine. It's just, we're Filipinos. That's what that's our character. Eh. But defensively, that's what really impressed me. They were
Yeah.
all over, challenging shots, contesting, running after ball handlers, kahit matamaan sila ng screen. I thought that our team, did really well defensively, and for me, that was maybe the biggest reason we got those big wins over Korea and Indonesia this past week.
Yeah, yung defense talaga nila impressive. Lalo na nung first half yata, they couldn't shoot a lot. Like nung first half against the first game against Korea. Like we scored 36 points. But then in the first quarter, talagang walang ma-shoot. Pero hindi tayo, I mean, natambakan tayo until like 17 lang. Pero kung hot sila talaga, hindi na tayo nag-defend. Baka yung lamang lumaki na until like 25 or something na mahihirapan na humabol. But with the defense, I think it was really good. And maybe it starts also with SJ, because SJ Belangel, like from the jump ball of the first game, he was pressuring the point guard of Korea. Buti nga hindi napipikon sa kanya. And pero na foul out yata yung guards ng Korea. I'm not sure who the ones were fouled out. Pero nung game they fouled out like two of them yata nung first game. Kasi siguro SJ was super makulit, and then they kept reaching in, and then yung mga offensive fouls pa. So maybe that's what also helped them. And then sa rim protection, Ange is one of the best talaga, at least in defense and rim protection. So maybe that's what really propelled them to win with their defense, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, Ange is a great rim protector. I mean, he's not he's not like our past naturalized players. I mean, Andrew Blatch and Marcus Douthit, their main strengths were offensive. They could, give them the ball, give Douthit the ball on the low post, or give Andre the ball anywhere practically, and they could create shots for themselves. Ange isn't like that. Eh. He has to have a system where he can thrive, and that's what we have right now in Gilas. Fortunately, defensively, he makes good decisions defensively, and he challenges. If it's in front of him, he'll contest that shot. So that's what we like about Ange, no? And he's a good anchor for that defense. Because kung may maiwanan, let's say si Dwight maiwanan or si SJ or si RJ, they get blown by. You
Mm.
have Ange right there as your last line of defense. It gives you a lot of confidence on the defensive end. And like you said, SJ he played. I've seen him grow. I first saw him when he was a first year high school
Oh
player.
yeah, with you, yeah.
And he was already way above his level, his age group. Eh.
Mm.
But now, I honestly didn't expect him and RJ Abarrientos to play as well as they did against
Same, yeah.
professional level Korean players. Ha? I mean, on paper, our depth against their depth at the guard position,
Mm.
talagang lamang sila. Depth and experience. But
Mm.
ang galing parang they grew up right before our eyes. Eh. I mean,
Mm.
RJ, he's just para siyang he's like a Jason Castro or a Terence Romeo, but a bit more disciplined, I guess.
Mm.
Um, and SJ naman, I'm not even sure I can compare him to anyone eh. Kasi siguro may konting LA Tenorio kasi medyo may gulang, 'di ba? Yung parang wala sa itsura na he's gonna be able to do these things. but he just does them so well. And there were a few moments, especially that first game, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Diego, no, na he kind of fished for the fouls of the
Yeah.
Korean guys.
Yeah.
And he's been doing that, ever since. Nag-uusap nga kaming coaches sa group chat namin na, nakita na natin to eh. We
Yeah.
saw this before when he was in the juniors division. I'm sure everyone has seen it in the UAAP. I'm sure the Korean coach had not seen it before that first game. So
Yeah.
they probably didn't have him scouted, and they didn't know that, that's part of his tendency to really parang try to fish for the foul of the opposing guards, and he did that really well. Because yeah, you're right. The top two guards of Korea, I think that was Lee Dae Sung and Kim Nak Yeon. They fouled out
Yeah.
in
Crucial
that first
moments.
game.
Yeah.
Crucial talaga
Yeah.
because they had to dig deep into their third stringer guard
Mm.
to replace them. No, so that was really good on our part. So those two guys, RJ and SJ, really stepped up big time at the guard position. And considering that they weren't even supposed to play heavy minutes because it was supposed to be Matt Nieto
And Suerte, right?
who was starting, yeah, and Ray Suerte who was
Yeah.
maybe backing him up.
Yeah.
So these are two guys who maybe one of them would have been cut, diba? If
Mm.
Ray and Matt would have been healthy.
Mm.
Maybe if one GDL were even in the
Oh yeah.
bubble, maybe
Yeah.
neither SJ or RJ would even be there. But
Yeah.
as it turns out, they were the difference makers, diba? SJ, of course, that he made that game winner in the first game, and they both had big moments in the second game against Korea also. So I don't think anybody, expected them to play as well as they did. And we all knew they were going to be spunky, gritty, never say die point guards. But to play the way they did, wow, hats off to them. Exceeded expectations in a big way.
Yeah. Nung first half nga nung Korea, I think RJ only was inserted to the game like late in the first half, and I was wondering like where is he? Why isn't he playing? And then when they made him play like mid or late first half, he exploded for like 5 or 7 points right away. And then everyone was tweeting about him already. So they were so excited because I think SJ struggled offensively in the first half. So they were like, why is he getting all the minutes? Ganun. They were like, oh, because he's an Ateneo. Diba all the people like, I mean, I'm from LaSalle, but I don't say like, oh, these players are getting minutes because they're Ateneo lang. I saw like tweets pa like that. Pero when Belangel stepped up in the second half, binabawi lahat nung sinabi nila. Kasi the second half pareho silang gumawa, right? So it's really contradicting sometimes and you can't talk too soon when it comes to those things. Because yeah, SJ was able to bounce back. And Coach Tab is good in third quarters. I think that's what Diego Dario tweeted. And I also had him in my podcast before. Like he said that Coach Tab after the half, he's good in like motivating his players to perform better in the second half. I don't know what he does, but he does something. And pag third quarter, nawala na yung lamang ng kalaban kaagad. And it starts with also the point guard defense and offense of RJ and SJ.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Diego's right. I mean, Diego Dario would know just
Yeah.
how good Coach Tab is because he's played against the Ateneo teams of Coach Tab, diba?
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing of the many great things. Now, one of the great things about Coach Tab is he adjusts really well, especially at the mid game, like what you said, Diego, no? Because he reads the game so well and he never gets rattled. I mean, this guy has coached at all levels of basketball, so he's seen everything. So there's nothing in any game, whether he's up by 10, up by 15, or down by 15, down by 20, that'll really rattle him. And that stability, that composure, the players feed off of that, and then they're able to adjust, especially in the second half. And that's kind of what we saw also. No, I remember that first game against Korea, we were down like what you said, as many as 17 points. But honestly, when we were trailing 33-16 in the second quarter, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh no, this is parang, we're not gonna overhaul a 17-point lead
Yeah.
against professional Korean players, diba? That's crazy. That's not gonna happen. But we were able to do exactly that. We chipped away at the lead, and then we eventually took the lead in the second half, tied it at 52 all with the Dwight Ramos fast break layup, and then of course eventually won on an SJ Belangel buzzer beating three. But again, it's really a hallmark of like what the players keep on saying, the system and the mindset and the culture. And though when people say system, mindset, culture, it's so ano ba? It's so abstract. Parang you can't really grasp at it. But from a coach's perspective, those are very, very important things to build upon. Because if those things are solid, then that means your team's character is solid. And that means, no matter what the other team throws at you, you'll probably find a way to play through it and be competitive. And that's what we did against Korea. We hung in there. We were competitive for the entire game, and then we put ourselves in a position to win with 2.9 seconds left. And that's exactly what SJ did. He won the game for us. And I understand maybe some of the fans who might say na parang, ba't si SJ pinapasok, hindi si RJ, ganyan. I mean,
Yeah.
because they have similarities, but they're also two very different. They
Mm.
play very different styles. And I'm sure you noticed it. No,
Mm.
SJ, if he wanted to, if he really, really wanted to, he could, you know, take 30 shots at least a game if he wanted
Mm.
to. And when he came to Ateneo, I remember, I think this was like 6 years ago, when he came in as a freshman, the word was this is a kid who scored 99 points in a game in SBP or in Palaro when he was in Bacolod. So he was a scorer. He was a born scorer. But he was able to transcend that and kind of add different dimensions to his game. He's now a great ball handler, tagababa ng bola, which is very important. He has amazing court vision and he sets players up really, really well. And he can, when he came into Ateneo, he was really more of just a slasher, who had really, great upper body strength, could finish at the basket. But he developed a mid-range game. He developed a three-point shooting game, and he's such a well-rounded offensive player. And then defensively, he's so, how do you say it, madiscarte.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll,
That's what
he'll be able to he'll be able to draw an offensive foul, draw a charge,
mm.
and then smile at the bench afterwards. Nakita niyo yun, coach. But
Yeah.
sobrang niyang wily and madiscarting player. And
Mm.
that's really one of his strengths. On the other side, you have RJ, who's man, he can score in bunches. I remember a game against him and the FEU Baby Tamaraws. I think this was
Mm.
mga 2 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We played them at the Blue Eagle gym, and Kaya Soto was still with us in the juniors. RJ burned us for like I think 9 3-pointers in a game.
Oo.
He parang kami, man, this guy, he's unscoutable because you could break him down and all his tendencies and whatever. You could have someone try to shadow him, cover him from the opposite baseline to the other baseline, and still he'd find a way to slither and slide and get himself open and pull up for a three. And that's what he did against Korea. He found ways to score double clutch. May mga
Yeah.
pabali pa siyang tira, di ba? His pull up threes. Yung mga tipong if you're a coach, no, 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 no. And then
Yeah.
yes, pumasok. Para okay, very good.
Yeah.
So they're two very different styles. I mean, maybe RJ's a bit more highlight worthy or exciting, so to speak. But on the other end, SJ just does so many little things so well also. So I'm happy for both of them.
Yeah. For SJ, I realized also that he mentioned in an interview that he idol niya si Jimmy Alapag, kaya ginagaya niya yung parang playing style na siya yung next batch of point guards of Gilas Pilipinas. And si RJ naman, I heard also in an interview of Olsen Rosella that baka daw mamaya mas magaling pa kay Johnny A. Hindi ko kung inaasar lang niya si Johnny A na baka pag nag-retire daw si RJ like in the span of his whole career, baka daw maging mas magaling pa kay Johnny A. Kasi yung ngayon at 19, maybe when you saw him play and he made 9 threes, maybe he was what, 17, 16 pa lang at that time.
Mga ganun, yeah,
So
yeah.
now at 19, talagang ang layo na nung ginaling niya. And masipag talaga siya, nakikita mo kahit, yeah, everyone says he's already a star, highly touted rookie in the next UAP season. Parang masipag pa rin siya and he's still continuing to improve on his game. And it's really important. And we'll see also in the OQT because I think the point guards are gonna be taller there.
Oh yeah, they're gonna go up against Serbian point guards
Yeah.
and Dominican point guards who the Dominicans may not be as tall or may not be, they might not dwarf RJ and SJ, but the Serbians certainly will. And I mean, imagine they probably have a similar skill set, but they're at least 4 inches
Mm-mm.
taller and they have wider shoulders and they're more experienced and basarado pa siguro sila, di ba? So, it's gonna be an intimidating atmosphere. But I think based on what we've seen, SJ and RJ, they're kind of alphas. Eh. They will thrive in that and they will welcome that challenge. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if SJ, even if we're gonna lose one or both of those games, I wouldn't be surprised if SJ and RJ have their magic moments, have their moments where they're gonna score in a big guy, or SJ will draw an offensive foul and then smirk again. Yung mga ganung play. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of those uh, at the OQT.
Yeah. And we talked a lot about, yeah, the point guards, SJ and RJ, and we talked about Ange also earlier. But is there any other major takeaway that you can see from the first game? And oh yeah, we also talked about Coach Tab's adjustments in the second half. But are there any other like maybe meticulous details that other people might have noticed that really impressed you from that game? And yeah, is it a player or like a certain run or a spurt in the whole game that really impressed you from the first Korea game?
For me, I guess for both Korea, for both the first and second Korea games,
Oh,
the guy who's impressed, of course, everyone's gonna rave about Dwight Ramos. I
mm,
mean, that's low hanging fruit.
yeah,
It was so easy to pick him because he just does so many things so well. Whether it's
yeah.
scoring, even hustle stats, galing talaga ni Dwight. He does everything.
Mm,
But for me, one of the unsung heroes, especially in that first game, was actually Will Navarro. He's a guy who the things that he does just doesn't really come out in the regular box scores. Eh. If you only look at the regular box scores, you're gonna see that Will had 0 points. He shot like zero for
oo.
four
Yeah,
or
yeah.
0 for 5 in that first game. And
Mm,
if that's the only thing you saw, you'd probably think, ba't ba nasa loob to? Ba't naglalaro ba tong taong
yeah.
to? But this is a guy, I think, if I'm remembering my stats correctly, he had like 9 or 10 good challenges or contests in that game. I think he had
Defense.
1 or 2 loose ball dives. He just does things that don't come out again in the normal box scores. But if you're a coach and you're trained to see which players are actually making an impact, he makes a big impact for any team. No, and again, hindi madaling makita from a fan's perspective, I guess. But again, from a coaching perspective, he's such an invaluable member to that team. I mean, if I'm gonna borrow a term from my fellow sportscasters, he's kind of like a glue guy
Mm,
for that team. No, he's the one who tips the ball or makes a challenge that enables you to get a rebound, enables you to get a steal, enables you to break out for that dunk or for that open shot. He does those little things, no, really, really well. Him and Mike Nieto, I guess, but
mhm.
Will's advantage is, his length at around 6'5", 6'6", and he hustles like Mike Nieto does. I mean, he just does so many positive things on the court. I don't think we'd win any of those games if Will Navarro was not there to do those small things. No, so I think he was really uh, a central reason for us winning those 2 games. So yeah, he's the one I hope a lot of people will appreciate more moving forward. And I think he's a guy na let's say he does not make the team for the Asia Cup, he has to be replaced by someone who'll do the exact same things. Someone who'll really just hustle and challenge, parang nakikita ko sa kanya, he's like this team's version of Gabe Norwood. Because Gabe isn't. I mean, Gabe's not gonna score 20 for
Yeah.
Gilas on the
Never.
international
Yeah.
stage,
Yeah.
but he's gonna be the one guarding the best wing player from the
Yeah.
opposing team.
Yeah.
He's the guy who's gonna challenge every shot. He's gonna die for those loose balls. That's what makes Gabe so important. And those same reasons are what makes Will an integral part of this current Gilas crew.
Yeah, that's a great point also because nung frustrated na rin ako nung first half nung tinatambakan tayo, parang naiisip ko nga rin yun yung sinasabi mo na why is he still there and these other players nga like SJ also na struggling. Pero syempre, if you like not like hindi ka na naiinis or frustrated, pag talagang pinanood mo yung game, makikita mo nga yung impact niya talaga sa game. And si Will also, he was in Beda, I think, in his first year in college. It's like the first time I heard him, pero hindi pa siya pinapasok. And then Ateneo nga got him. And what impressed me also with him in the previous UAAP season, I believe, he had the highest plus minus in the whole UAAP or something. And I don't know, I think he thrives well with Coach Tab. Like maybe if he was in another system, baka hindi siya ganito kagaling. And yun nga, yung galing niya, quote unquote, it's not even in the stats. Like even in Ateneo, mas gusto mo na yung ibang players sa starting five nila. But like now, he's also a starter here in Gilas and he's able to the stats that aren't in the normal statistical categories that everyone focuses on.
Yeah, I like your point actually, Diego. No, na maybe if Will were playing in another system, he would probably be utilized a different way.
Mm-mm.
Because it's very rare you find a 6'5", 6'6" guy who can play the wings.
Mm-mm.
So for many other coaches, he would probably be utilized as a wing scorer, or something like that. No, but in Ateneo, obviously, and in Gilas, that's not the case. I'm not saying Will cannot be a good take charge scorer. I think he has the skill set to do that. No, but what I'm seeing from him right now, I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. And it's all about also, he's a good fit, I think, for the system. I think for no matter what league you're going to talk about, UAAP, NC, NBA, EuroLeague, for majority of the players, like maybe 70-80% of the players in any league, it's all about whether you fit into the system
Yeah.
of that team.
Yeah.
And Will really fits this system. I think he's also had to learn it,
Mm-mm.
and he's been able to really bring himself to fit into this system in a very, very good way. And I know some PBA assistant coaches who actually cannot wait to have him in at the pro level, because parang napakasarap ng turuan, kasi parang he's gonna just absorb uh, the system like a sponge and find the way to contribute in that system. You look at his skill set. We've talked about how he's about 6'5", 6'6". He has good length. He can bring down the basketball. He can defend a 4, maybe even a 5 na Pinoy.
Mm-mm.
He can certainly defend wing players as well. He has confidence to shoot from the outside. He definitely can finish strong inside. I remember he had that nice breakaway dunk
Yeah.
in the
Left
second
hand
game.
pa.
Yeah, diba? Galing, no? So,
Mm-mm.
parang if you have a checklist of the skills you want in a 6'5" wing player, he pretty much ticks most, if not all, the boxes already.
Mm-mm.
And then but yet again, here in this Gilas team, he's not the main guy. He's not the star. He's not the poster boy. He's not the efficiency leader, but he does so many things right. And that's why I'm so excited for his future, because I think whether he continues with Gilas or eventually joins a PBA team, he's gonna be successful. Either way. Or if he goes abroad, we don't know, diba? We'll see.
Yeah. Yung magandang connection din dun sa kay William Navarro is I think Coach Tab started it in the tune-up game against China, yung Will Navarro and Justine Baltazar at the wing. And they usually play the big man position here in local basketball. And then he started Ange and Kai at the bigs with SJ at the 1. And honestly, when I first heard that they do that, I was like, oh, Baltazar doesn't shoot threes. Because the last time I saw him in Lasal, he wasn't like a shooter talaga. And Will also in Ateneo, parang he's like Nico Salva. Like he was just shooting medium range jumpers for Ateneo. And yeah, even Ange before, like in Ateneo, he'd shoot maybe maximum na yung one attempt per game from three during the UAAP season. So I was like, ano yun, walang shooting, si SJ lang yung mag-shoot. Parang ganun yung una kong thinking. Pero for you, what's your assessment naman on playing that lineup that's really tall? And I think we really need height when it comes to playing European teams, American teams.
I think it was a good move, by Coach Tab, and I don't think it was uh, an accidental move or choice to do that. No?
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that when they were training in the Calamba bubble, that they were already envisioning that eventually they'd have to experiment or have to use a big five. And that's exactly what we saw. No? We saw Ange paired with Kai. I think there were also some moments it was Kai paired with Gio in the second Korea game,
Mm-mm.
I think. No?
Mm-mm.
And then you have Balti at the three. And then I think at one time it was Will at the four, either SJ or even Dwight sometimes at the one position.
Yeah,
No? So
Dwight plays the one, yeah.
yeah, so for me that's very promising, And knowing Coach Tab and Coach Sandy, um, okay, I'll take you behind the curtain a little bit in
Mm.
the Ateneo practices, but this is something a lot of other coaches do anyway.
Yeah.
Um, at the co- at the college level, kasi that's where, of course, as the higher you go in the basketball landscape, the more talented your opposition will be. So let's
Mm.
say you're a player in grade school, galing mo.
Mm.
Pagdating mong high school, yung mga kalaban mo galing school na to, school na yan, puro may mga recruit na yan galing probinsya. So biglang, oh my God, mas
Mm.
gumagaling na yung kalabang ko. Pero angat ka pa rin.
Mm.
Pagdating mong college, lahat ng mga kasabayan mo sa high school na magagaling, lahat ng mga tier 1,
Yeah.
lahat kayo aangat. Puro kayo na lang maglalabanan sa spots na yan. So,
Mm.
that's where your weaknesses, your flaws as a player begin to get more, pronounced.
Mm.
So let's say you're a 40-point scorer in high school, pero ang weakness mo, you can't defend the pick and roll.
Mm.
That weakness will be magnified when you face a college coach already.
Mm.
And most college coaches will work on that weakness. So let's say si Balti. When I first saw Balti play for NU in the juniors division as a ball pop, he was a dominant inside
Mm.
presence.
Yeah.
He was already about 6'6", I think. So he had great length. He towered over ang kamatchup na nun sa amin si Mike Nieto. So
Oh,
I mean,
kawawa. Mas
Mike,
maliit.
Balti and Mike. So literally head and shoulders over Mike
Yeah.
Nieto. He was a dominant offensive player, but he had no handles and he had no three. Definitely had no outside shot,
Yeah.
diba, at that time. But what I'm happy is, and I'm sure the LaSalle coaches have been working on this with him also. This magandang bitaw ni Balti. I mean, even if it's not his job to shoot the three, that when he has to, may pulso, and that's credit. That's credit to the Gilas coaches, but honestly, I think that's credit to the LaSalle coaches as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the LaSalle coaching staff has been working on that with him
Mm.
as well. So there you go. I was really excited to see it. I wasn't sure how it would work, diba? Like you, I've never seen Balti play three.
Mm.
I mean, in the previous window last November, he played 4 or 5, diba?
Yeah.
With Isaac and Kmart Carino.
Yeah.
And even if we read stories that he was being trained to be a
Mm-hmm.
3,
Yeah.
it's still different to see it on the floor.
Yeah.
Parang okay, we have two 7-footers at the front line, and we have Balti at the 3, and Will Navarro at the other wing spot. How's this gonna work? Parang I mean, it looks good on paper, diba? You have a 6'8" small forward, you have a 6'5"
Shooting
shooting
guard.
guard, and you have Dwight Ramos with about 6'5" din yata as your point guard. So on paper, it looks good. It's like you're fielding an NBA team, diba? But
Mm.
is this gonna work? For me, my biggest worry was defensively. parang, okay, maybe yes, parang set Balti up at the corner, don't make him handle the ball, just make him wait for the three and he can probably shoot it, diba? It's fine. But defensively, can he keep up with, the quick jitterbug guards of Korea? And he was able to. He was actually very impressive. I mean, may mga times na naiiwan siya, especially when he's caught on a screen, but
Yeah.
his instincts are not big man instincts. When he's playing the three,
Yeah.
he's not like a deer looking at headlights na hindi alam yung gagawin. He knows what to do. He knows that he should deny the middle or deny the baseline depending on the player he's guarding. And yung tayo niya when he's guarding a wingman, hindi parang lumbering big man
Yeah.
na alam mong may iwan eh.
Oh.
Yung stance niya is a wingman stance.
Mm.
So to see that for me, parang wow, this guy is gonna be great for Gilas, but he's gonna be trouble for the other 7 UAAP teams. No,
Yeah.
I mean, man, I honestly as a fan, I can't wait to see him in the UAAP again, and then when he plays with Enzo Serrano,
The Phil-Amps.
with
My mom.
the Phillips
Yeah,
brothers,
Philips,
diba?
yeah.
I mean, I think that's gonna be such a heck of a
Yeah.
team already, and to see Balti probably play three.
Mm.
Oh man, I mean the matchups, diba? Balti versus Renz Abando. Parang
Yeah.
iniisip mo pa lang, oh my God, I want to see this happen right now. It's so exciting, and I really hope he continues developing that because, Diego, honestly, if Balti continues to develop at this rate, I mean, he has good shooting. He can finish facing the basket, not just backing down. We already know he has a good mid-range game. Yung patented one-hander niya na
Yeah.
gano'n, diba? It's money.
Yeah.
And then defensively, he can guard wings. I'm not even sure if the PBA is his ceiling
Yeah. Baka
for
abroad.
Balti, diba? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets offers to play. I mean, maybe Japan, maybe Australia. I mean, I don't want to jinx the kid. I'm
Yeah.
really hoping he gets far, and I think the way he's developing, he really has the potential to do so much upside on that kid. Really, really proud of him.
Yeah, yung mga friends ko nga nagugulat kasi like nung Indonesia he made like 3 wing threes or something and then they were like, oh si
Yeah.
Balti pala ganyan na maglaro or parang kakaiba yan, di ko nakita. Then I'm like, oh yeah, Coach Tab said it like what 4 months ago and he just fulfilled his promise. Parang he said it in a podcast also in
Yeah.
Coaches Unfiltered. Then sila Charles Chu were like, huh, seriously? He's gonna play the wing? Parang kala nila joke or something. And now
Yeah.
he's playing the three nga and he's flourishing with it. Kasi Coach Tab said parang if he plays the 4 or 5, parang baka mas magaling siya pag nag-3, pag Gilas, pag international play. Kasi
Yeah.
here, kaya niya. Kasi nga, like you said, he dominates in the paint. Pero in the international level, baka mas magaling siya pag 3. Kasi nga, you said, both ends of the floor. Kaya naman niya makipag-match up sa threes. Even if initially you think hindi. Kasi nga dito, sanay siya na big man.
Yeah. And what I love about Balti is it seems he's really embraced that that role already. Parang feeling ko if he comes back to the UAAP, although I'm sure it's not gonna happen. If someone forces him to play a 5 or a 4, he's probably gonna feel out of position already. Kasi right now he's just doing so well as a 3 guy. Imagine ko nga in that Indonesia game, if I'm imagining Coach Raiko Toroman, the Indonesia coach, diba?
Yeah.
Siguro iniisip niya, oh my God, this guy's 6'8" and he shoots like this.
Ano
I
pa
mean,
gagawin niya?
Oh my God, what's happening to Philippine? I mean, when Coach Raiko was coaching Gilas 1 way back in 2010, 2011, he had someone with similar height as Balti and arguably the same skill set. That guy was Dwight Ramos.
Oh yeah.
Tall, lanky guy, great outside touch, and actually respectable handles, but he was always trained as a 5. So that's what he became, a 4 and a 5, diba? And to be fair, in the Philippines naman talaga, if you're about that height, I mean, medyo no choice. You really will have to play, a 4 or a 5. But credit to Balti because he's embraced this role. And like what I said, I think he's already mentally really positioned himself na tres ako.
Mm-mm.
Ganyan. So he's embraced it. So I'm so excited. That's one of the things I'm excited to see against Serbia in particular, no? Because playing against Indonesia is one thing.
Yeah.
Playing against Korea, who's an elite Asian team, is another. But playing a Serbian national team, he'll probably, I'm not sure if Bielica is on their final roster or
I think,
something,
yeah. I think it's
but
Belitza, Boban, and
yeah.
they only have three NBA guys or two.
Tatlo
Pero
lang eh.
malalakas pa rin niya,
Yeah,
syempre.
of course. I mean that's Serbia, diba? I
Mm.
mean, so it's possible. It's good. We're gonna see a Balti Bielica
Yeah.
wing matchup. I mean, Bielitsa's NBA caliber.
Calibers.
So, I'm not even gonna say that Balti's gonna burn Bielitsa, but if Balti can hold his own, be competitive, and learn in that kind of matchup, I mean, he's gonna be so much better pa when he comes back here in the
Mm.
Philippines. No, so I hope he continues developing. Again, I don't want to jinx it, but the way Balti's developing reminds me of the way Yuta Watanabe from Japan was
Mm.
developing years ago
Yeah.
before he entered the NBA. Because Yuta Watanabe is about the same height as Balti, about 6'8". Uh, he's like a lefty version,
Mm.
same lanky, lengthy player, good outside shooter, solid defensive player also. When Utah was Balti's age, he wasn't really a dominant player even in Japan, no, and even in the US NCAA where he went to college. But he worked at it, and eventually, from being a big man in Japan, he became a small forward in the States and transitioned really well. And I'm really hoping we see that from Balti, that he continues developing, continues gaining confidence as a three guy, and hopefully he will be our top three guy when when we host the World Cup in 2 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
imagine a 6'8" three guy alongside Ange and AJ Edu and Kai Soto and
Mm.
maybe Japeth or Junmar if their knees won't give in by that time. That's wow. May Troy Rosario ka pa, 'di ba? So parang man, that's a
Yeah.
very 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 exciting front line we can have, in a couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like how you're high on Balti because maybe I'm high on him also, but like I'm from LaSalle, so baka biased eh. Pero ikaw, syempre from Ateneo na, and you're really high on Balti on like all the aspects, like yung intangibles that you mentioned, yung sa
Yeah.
defense. That's really not what everyone's gonna notice because it's not like in the box score also, like similar to what you said about Will Navarro. But yeah, yung defense niya parang alam niya kailan mag-help. Pag naunahan siya, alam niya mag-help si Ange dito, ganun. So yun yung parang mga magandang parts of his game that I really saw also. And in LaSalle naman, I think he only has 1 year left. I think they were telling him nga to go to the PBA na because nga, ang galing niya. But then he has 1 year left. And I think he can play the three in LaSalle because, yeah, they have the Phillips brothers. They have other recruits. And then they have Amadou. They have Kimbao.
Yeah,
And they're like
yeah.
all huge, I think. So if he says, I prefer to play the three, maybe in that 1 year, he's going to play the three. But I realized also that Ateneo stacked because they still have SJ, Dave, Dwight, and so I'm like, are they gonna have another 5 feet? But then even if LaSalle's kind of strong, I'm like Ateneo's like way stronger. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, yeah, of course, Ateneo will continue to be strong. Maybe still the title favorites. With Ange, I think the core will be Ange, Dwight, and SJ
Yeah.
definitely. And then you have some of the other guys developing really well. David Defonso obviously is going to be an impact player. Gio Chu, as we saw, is developing no at a really good rate. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, and not just because I coached Gio, but I think eventually he might even surpass Isaac Go's level,
Oh, in Ateneo.
in
Yeah.
Ateneo. Yeah, I mean that's because Isaac, when he was at Gio's age, he wasn't this mobile or this physical yet. So Gio has some advantages as well. So hopefully he continues to to develop. And we have some good role players also. We have some eaglets who are going to be in college this coming school year, so they're going to start training with the college team. These are former Batangilas guys, Josh Lazaro, Fourth
Mm.
Padrigao. So those are
Yeah.
pretty big names too.
Magagaling.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, it's a stacked team.
Mm-mm.
But beyond that, I think the fact that it's still going to be Coach Tab and Coach Sandy and that staff that's going to be intact to handle and train these players. I think that's one of the biggest factors for that. But I'm excited because there's so many other teams that are also going to be really, really interesting to follow. No, I mean UP, of course, is going to be interesting with Tamayo there, and then Abadiano there, and then basically the all the big NU junior stars are going to be UP Fighting Maroons. Fortea, Abadiano, Tamayo.
Yeah. They
I
have
mean,
CJ.
Kiambao's the only one who didn't go to
Oh
UP.
yeah. UP
Kiambao,
has CJ
man,
Cancino, right?
yeah, they have Casino also, but Kiambao, man, that guy is good too.
Yeah.
Kiambao Balti at the front line.
Yeah.
What I love about Kiambao is he's a smart basketball player. I first coached against Kevin Kiambao at the I think it was Paya or Prada
Mm.
juniors level,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when we played them, we were not playing any UAAP level players on our team.
Okay.
When we played the NU team, gulat kami because this is a big team. Are these just Prada players or
Overaged.
UAAP? Parang ano ba to mga to? And Kevin he was already 6'6" back then. He was towering over everyone, but he was not playing bully ball. He was not, dribble, 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 duck, duck. He was not that kind of player. He was shooting threes, mid-range shots, turnarounds, and he was making drop passes left and right. And we were like, oh my God, who is this kid? Galing ng batang to, talino maglaro. And that's how he played in NU. I'm sure that's how he's gonna play in Lasalle for the Green Archers. And if Balti plays that one more year, and I hope he does, that's gonna be a scary combination. Kiambao and then Balti. That's gonna be your 4 and your 3. Wow, that's really, really good. No? But yeah, UP is gonna be good. LaSalle is gonna be good. I think UST has some good recruits also.
Yeah. Si
Uh,
Jordy. Yeah.
yeah, they have UST. Of course, Coach Alden has a big hand in that. But many of the new recruits that they've pulled into their system, these are guys na a lot of people might not be aware of because they were never as exposed as Kai and Tamayo and that generation. But these guys, Jordi Gomez Deliano, they got a guy named Nicael Caballero who is
Mm.
super good. Those are guys who should have been in Batangilas in 2019. Those were the guys who are already being trained by Coach Sandy for the Batangilas team in 2019. And a lot of them are now in UST. So that UST team, under Coach Alden, that's going to be a scary team as well, moving forward. And it'll be interesting how that pans out for the Growling Tigers. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting season if we have it, and I hope we have it.
Yeah. On
You
Feb.
know,
Hopefully.
sana January or February 2022, diba? If all goes well, hopefully they all get vaccinated. Kahit walang live fans, I just want to see, UAP basketball, kahit hindi sila maglaro sa Araneta or sa Bloomingdale, kahit sa mga maliliit na gym lang, yung mga tipong pang alumni league lang na gym, basta
Yeah.
makalaro.
Yeah.
And televised, that's what we want
Yeah.
to see. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really great. Looking forward to players like Carl Tamayo. I haven't seen him play a lot yet before this Gilas batch or Gilas iteration. But like I really was impressed with his game also. Same with Abarrientos. So yeah, it's really good to look forward to the UAAP. But going back to Gilas, since they also had weaknesses for sure. Like actually going in, I thought their weakness would be like did crumble in the clutch or something like that. That's why when it was Korea, I was like, oh no, it's clutch. And then SJ proved me wrong. And then I also thought that their weakness would be outside shooting because I was like, who's a shooter here like Jeff Chan or Larry Funashare or Gary David before, or Terence Romeo. I was like, no one. And then they made 14 threes against Korea in the second game. So it was wrong again. But then for you, since the OQTs in a few, I don't know, week, and then there's a FIBA Asia Cup and then future competitions pa after. What do you see as a weakness or things to improve on that they could enhance for the next tournaments with this batch?
I think one weakness, I'm not sure if I'll call it a weakness, but yeah, weakness na rin. I mean, if we're being completely blunt and honest, no, is we leave a lot of shooters open. And we did that against Korea, especially in that first game. And we were kind of fortunate, I guess, na, they didn't shoot as well as, as past Korean teams in that we've seen before, no? Because Korea, of course, can just light things up in a snap, diba? But if we leave the same amount of shooters open, let's say against Serbia next week, I think we're gonna be toast. We're gonna
Blown
be
out.
blown out by maybe 20. Sana naman hindi, diba? I want us to be competitive, obviously, no. I don't think we're gonna get blown out by 40 or 50 like what happened in the World Cup 2 years ago. But
Yeah.
but I think it's gonna be a lopsided affair against Serbia, especially if these same weaknesses happen. And when you leave shooters open, kasi even if you close out on them, this is from a coach's perspective already.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave shooters open, you're forced to close out hard, meaning you're gonna run so fast to close out against them, no? And good shooters, when they see that, they'll make either of two choices. They'll shoot a shot, that's one choice, or they'll blow by you. And that happened so many times against Korea, even against Indonesia, actually. Na, the ball is swung to the weak side, shooters open, and someone is forced to close out, and then shot fake, drive to the basket. That, I think, is our biggest defensive weakness so far. And that, for a team that's part of the top 4, top 3 in the world, like Serbia, they will find that weakness and probably exploit it in a very big way. So I hope we're able to correct that a little bit before our game against Serbia. I mean, the only way to correct that is really to tighten up your rotations. Either you tighten up your rotations at the wings, or you just, pack the paint and let them shoot to their heart's content from the outside. I don't think that will work against Serbia, of course. We have to tighten up, our rotations. But we have some good players. Hopefully they'll find a way to do that against Serbia and Dominican Republic in the OQT.
Yeah, like in Serbia, I think we were close in the first half, or like one period and like half of the second quarter. And then when they exploded from 3-point range, tapos na kagad. And yung Italy din yata, parang yung first quarter pa lang naging hot na si Gallinari or something, and then tapos na kagad kasi hindi natin challenge yung shooters. And like Europeans are really known to exploit that weakness. If you don't plan to close out on them, they'll just keep doing the same shots paulit-ulit. Pag hindi mo sila, hindi ka mag-a-adjust eh. So yun yung
that's really how international basketball, especially European basketball, works. If you notice, they're not really big on, I mean, it's a cliche to use this already, but they're not focused on one-on-one plays or isolation so much. They will do that from time to time, especially if they have like a Luka Doncic, diba? That caliber of a player. But most of the time, they'll really just swing the ball around, set a bunch of screens, weak side, strong side, wherever, until they find a good shot, and then they'll take that shot. So if your rotations are not tight, you're gonna get burned. And in the Philippines, kasi, based on what I've seen, most of the time what we coaches call is we do maybe 1 or 2 rounds of defensive rotations well. But if the ball keeps moving beyond that, like kung galaw ng galaw, left right, or loob labas, if the ball moves beyond 2 rounds of rotations, that's when things get lost already. For a typical Filipino team that plays defense, no. Dun tayo medyo kailangan pa mag-improve, I guess. This Gilas team I think is much better, but again, against a team like Serbia who will really keep the ball moving,
Yes.
dun talaga tayo matetest.
Uh-huh.
And I think Coach Tab welcomes that kind of test because that will show his players na okay, we swept the window, we swept Korea,
Mm-mm.
pero marami pa rin tayong bigas na kailangan kainin because this is the level we want to approach, We don't want to stay a top 30 team in the world forever, diba? Eventually, we want to creep up into the top 20s, maybe if we have a golden generation, maybe even challenge to be in that top 10, diba? So,
Yeah.
and the only way to do that is really to improve defensively, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a feeling also that others really didn't notice that since as you mentioned, like some of us noticed stuff that aren't on the box score also, like that one. But the advantage on why I believe we can really improve on it is magaling yung communication nila. Like pag nagsiswitch and yung mga pick and roll, parang magkakakilala na sila even if they've only played for how many, like several months because they're not from the same school. Like I know like 50% or more of it, a lot of them are from Ateneo, but there's still like the other batch, like sila Abarrientos, Baltazar, they're not from Ateneo. And it's really great that yun, nasasabi mo nga pag naboblown by sila Justine, Baltazar, parang may mag-help ka agad. Yung parang yung chemistry nila, nararamdaman mo na even if it was their first game lang yata nung South Korea as this batch of Gilas. So it was really great to watch and it's fun to look forward to their next games.
Yeah, and that communication is going to be huge for them because like what you said, it enables them to kind of cover for each other's mistakes, so to speak, whether it's offensively or defensively. I mean, that winning shot by SJ against Curry in that first game, I mean, when Coach Tab was explaining it post game, he actually said he admitted that was kind of like a broken play because
Yeah, it was.
I think it was either Carl or Ange. I think it was Ange who missed setting a screen.
Okay.
And then at that point, from ang term ng coaches dyan is kailangan rumekta ka na lang, parang
Yeah.
madlib ka na lang, di ba? So, and that's what SJ did, and that's also what Dwight did, by passing the ball to SJ instead of forcing it, inside to Carl or to Ange, no? So there you go. It's that familiarity, but also the communication that's really important, especially on the defensive end. And so far, based on what we've seen, mukhang maganda naman yung communication nga ng mga bata, no? And they keep their composure, and they're gonna need that again against Serbia because I don't think it's reasonable or realistic to expect na we're gonna jump on Serbia, lead 8-0, after the first 2 minutes. I don't think that's gonna happen. And I think it's realistic to expect that we're probably gonna find ourselves playing from behind most of the game, probably playing catching up by double digits, mga by 10, 15, maybe 20 points or even more, diba? And that's when the composure of the boys will get tested. Iba kasi when you're leading Parang, defense is easier to do when you're up by 5, up by 6, or tied, the game's tied. But when you're down by 10, 15, 20 in the second half, for example, that's when parang it's harder to do defense. It's harder to communicate. And I hope that our boys are able to maintain that, good level of communication, no matter the situation in the coming OQT.
Yeah, that's really exciting to watch, even if the games are 2 a.m. or something. I need to
yeah,
stay
Serbia I think is 2:15 a.m.
Yeah.
the following day. So it's in
Yeah.
Serbia it'll be July 30.
Yeah.
June 30.
Yeah, June.
Here it'll be July 1, 2:15 a.m.
Okay.
And then the next game against Dominican Republic is I think at 2:30 a.m. then. So it's gonna be I don't know if you drink coffee, Diego, but if you do, then you better get like two cups of coffee ready if you're gonna stay up for that game.
I actually don't, but then yeah, I'm gonna stay up even if I have class. I'm just gonna sleep in the afternoon or something. Because I mean, it rarely happens talaga na may chance for Gilas to make the Olympics.
Yeah.
Pero like, even if you said nga na parang Serbia, they excel in a lot of facets of the game. And Dominican Republic, I saw Charles Chu tweet that, yeah, he thinks that we can beat them. But from your perspective, what are the realistic expectations for Gilas? Like, what's like their ceiling maybe? Or where do you see them finishing? And what would you consider like a success for them? Like, is one win a success? Or yeah, for you at least personally.
Oh yeah, I mean, if we win, if we come out of Serbia with one win, even if it's against the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be huge. That would be even bigger than the wins against Korea, I think, no?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've never won at an OQT. I mean,
Yeah, never.
5 years ago, when we hosted the OQT in 2016, Coach Tab was coaching that team, and we lost to France, we lost to New Zealand,
Mm-hmm.
also, diba? A game that a lot of people felt we actually could win. And the games here in Serbia will be even harder
Mm-hmm.
because Serbia is a better team than France, and Dominican Republic is also a better team than New Zealand.
Zealand,
So
yeah.
if we beat either of those teams, I mean, grabe, iba klaseng growth na talaga dun for our team, no. But realistically, our expectations should be tempered. I think if our boys have a good shooting day and they're disciplined defensively, they can be really competitive against Serbia. I don't think we can beat them. I maybe if we play them 100 times, maybe we'll win one. And that's still a big maybe right
Being
there.
kind, yeah.
Yeah, at this point. But Dominican Republic, I think on a good day we can beat that team. I think we're a bigger team than them, actually, slightly bigger team than they are, thanks to Ange and Kai.
Yeah.
Um, but skill, I think experience wise and depth, they have the edge. But again, if our boys play with the kind of discipline and composure and execution that they did against Korea, I think we have a shot against Dominican Republic. I don't think Charles is wrong. Charles was my student also back in Xavier when I was still teaching in Xavier.
Yeah.
So I don't think Charles is wrong. If we're able to again shoot well and be disciplined defensively, I think we can be competitive against Serbia, and I think we can beat the Dominican Republic. Now, if you're asking Gilas to go 2-0 in the OQT and then beat whoever is in the other
Semis.
group, no?
Yeah, yung second place sa semis. If you go
Yeah.
2-0, parang yeah.
Ano ba, sino ba yung sa Italy,
Italy,
Senegal,
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, diba? So, I mean, those are really, really tough teams also.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like sobrang milagro na talaga. Kailangan magpatay na tayo ng statwa para kay Coach Tab kung mangyari yon, diba? But yeah, I'd be extremely happy with one win to come out of that OQT for next week.
Yeah, I also want if they win kasi one, they'll be second place in our group behind Serbia. So we advance to the semis. But then I think would play Italy. So I'm not sure if we can beat Italy. But then imagine if we play against Serbia again in the finals. Well, I don't think now we'll win, but that's a really successful stint already. If they even reach like the last game before, like it's a do or die if they make it. Parang ganun. I mean, I don't think nga they'll win against Serbia because I think you need to win the championship in your like area.
You do.
To qualify.
I mean, out of those 6 teams, only one will make it to the Olympics. So yeah, you need to be the best team in that OQT. And based on the rankings, I think we're 5th or 6th in the rankings. I'm not sure if
above Senegal.
It's above Senegal. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, best case scenario is we lose to Serbia, we beat Dominican Republic, and then for some weird reason, it's not Italy who finishes first in the other group. Maybe Puerto Rico upsets them or something. Then we upset Puerto Rico, and then we're in the finals, and then anything can happen. And then, oh my God, we're in the Olympics. That's the best case scenario. But again, parang si Doctor Strange lang yan in the Avengers, diba? Out of the thousands of realities that you envision, how many will actually result in the Philippines making it to the Olympics, diba? Maybe only one, but We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Gallinari, he's in the Eastern Conference Final, so he might not play for
He's
Italy.
not gonna play.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hawks might upset the Bucks, diba? They already
Yeah.
won game one.
Yeah.
So I don't think Gallinari is going home,
Yeah.
for the
Puerto
Olympics.
Rico, I think is Barea retired? I'm not sure if he's retired already. So, but I hope
Gosh,
he
you
doesn't.
know what? I'm not so sure. I haven't checked out Puerto Rico's roster yet, so I'm not so sure. But
Yeah.
um, I'm not gonna be surprised if they're gonna go with a relatively younger team
Oh,
for
okay.
Puerto Rico. Yeah,
So
I'm
that
not
would
even
be
sure.
fun.
I'm not even sure if Ronaldo Bachmann
Yeah, him. Yeah,
is
I
gonna
only know
play.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, before we go, I think we also need to talk about Dwight because everyone I know wants to everyone wants to hear him. Like for instance, the first time I watched him was against Indonesia before the pandemic, and I was already impressed because he wasn't getting the minutes yet because I think Kiefer, CJ, and Troy, RR,
Yeah,
Pogoy, they were all there.
it was a PBA team PBA
Yeah.
team with Dwight, with Isaac, with Matt. Parang ganun lang I think there were like three of them who were cadets in that team.
Yeah. And hindi pa siya masyadong sikat. Like siguro yung mga nakakakilala lang sa kanya was us, yung mga nanonood ng lahat ng games ng basketball. Like I don't think the casual fans really knew who he was. Maybe by name and face only, but not like play style. And then he played in Bahrain and then he had the perfect game and then suddenly nag-ascend yung popularity niya here in the country. And then biglang nawala ulit ng konti dahil walang games. But then biglang now he played well in all three games and he's a very all-around player. So it's really impressive for me because he's not only a scorer, I believe his IQ is really high. Like I think you pointed it out nung inbound. Baka kung iba yung nag-inbound nung last play against Korea, baka hindi kay SJ pinasa, baka nag 5
Yeah,
second or
yeah, they might
mali
have
yung
panicked already. Yeah.
yeah. And I even got surprised because he was the top scorer. So I was like, oh, why is Coach Tab making him inbound? Isn't it, why are you making him shoot? Parang ganun yung iniisip ko. Pero yeah, it's a great decision that you put your highest IQ player, one of your highest IQ players, to inbound the ball. And the other one that I like about him is his hustle. Like nagkasugat na siya lahat ng Indonesia and they were playing physical on him. And he's still composed. Yung parang Kawhi
Yeah.
Leonard, like kahit anong gawin mo sa kanya, ganun pa rin yung mukha niya kahit may sugat na or what. So those are like two major points that I like about him. Like he said in the Korea game that parang na-rattle siya nung first quarter kasi physical play nga siya, parang na-scout tayo. Pero ganun pa rin yung game niya. He still scored, I think, 18 points or something. So yun yung gusto ko sa kanya na parang mature na siya maglaro and he's still gonna play for Ateneo for 2 more seasons apparently. Even if I told people that he shouldn't play. But for you, what's really impressive about Dwight? And yeah, what else should people look forward for him? Because he's still gonna improve for sure.
I mean, in the words of young guys like you, he's just so chill, diba?
Yeah.
Parang he's just so composed I mean, we were down early in both games against Korea, diba? I think we were
Mm.
down 7-0, 8-0 in that
Yeah.
first game and then 9-0 in the second game, diba?
Mm.
But he's such a composed, cool player and he thrives under intense competition. I think he's right na medyo nagulat siya in that first game against Korea na, oh my God, this is okay. Hindi na Indonesia tong kalaban ko, hindi na Thailand to. Parang
Mm.
okay, this is a different level I'm going up against already. So I think after those first few minutes, he kind of got a wake up call and he kind of flipped a switch na okay, now's the time to kind of step up as well. I like your comparison with Kawhi Leonard because parang ganun nga siya, come to think of it, no, he's not the most outspoken guy out there. And he's not even really the most expressive. He makes a good play, makes a big three.
Yeah, yung mukha niya
And
ganun pa.
he's not like the guy who's gonna
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
smile at the camera
Yeah.
or do that
Yeah.
or do that.
Yeah.
Hindi siya ganun. He's not
Yeah.
that kind of guy. But he's just gonna make a three, maybe flash a simple smile, not even smile. I think that's run back down. I mean, hindi nga siya takbong mayaman, di ba? He's just gonna make a three and then go for defense again. That's the cool thing about Dwight, no? And he's just so mature. Physically, he's mature. I mean, for a wingman, broad shoulders, he can bump up against the biggest guys. but mentally as well. No, he just makes the right plays. No, almost every single time, he just really makes the right plays. No, and for me, that's what really makes him kind of a dangerous guy. For Gilas's opponents and eventually, admittedly, for Ateneo's opponents in the UAAP, because he has like an assassin's mindset. Yung tipong,
Mm.
I'll do what needs to be done. You need a three, okay, I'll hit the three. You need an assist for a game winning buzzer beating three. Okay, that's what I'll do. You need me to bring down the ball because you have a big man lineup. Okay, that's what I'll do. Parang he just does what you need
Yeah.
to do, and that's the best thing about Dwight for me. I mean, this is a guy like what you said. For a lot of people, maybe the first time they really saw him play was in against Indonesia, last February in 2020, in that first window.
Mm.
For a lot of coaches, though, especially in the UAEP, he was already a known commodity. Parang, okay, Dwight Ramos, this is a guy na in the Phil-Am community in California, he was already pretty well known. One guy to watch. In fact, way back, I think back in 2015 or 2016, I was already writing about him
Oh,
because
that's interesting.
he was invited already to be in the Batang Gilas team. I think it's for 2016, the under 18 team, the same team that had Kmar Carino
Mm.
and Jolo Mendoza. That team, no, that was a very good team. But had Dwight joined that team, that would have been a really really maybe a top four, top three team in that year. No, I think we finished top eight or something. But if Dwight would have been on that team, that would have been really really good. Sayang yun because I remember the Batangitas coach in 2016. That was Coach Michael Oliver. He was really high on Dwight and was really really trying to bring him in to Manila. And then I think for a time there was really a chance he would come. But I guess because he just finished high school and he wanted to go to a Div 1 school, so he
Yeah,
had to stay
that's
in the
what he
States.
says. Yeah.
Yeah, he had to stay there. And he tried out for, I think it was first Cal Poly Pomona.
Mm.
And then eventually he had to transfer schools and everything. But he was really a good player already. Even way back then. No? Many local coaches, kilala na siya or narinig na siya. But I think seeing video of him, hearing about him, reading about him is very different from actually seeing him play. And the way he plays, parang kung coach ka, ganito yung gusto kong player na, na
Yeah.
nasa team ko eh.
Checklist na lahat.
He's coachable.
Yeah.
He makes the right decision almost every single time. He's, I mean, mukhang chick boy, but he's not
Mm.
gonna be a glamour guy, di ba? I mean, you look at social media, so many guys and girls, are swooning, over him.
Yeah.
Even after he got that, yung
Yeah.
sinabi mo, sugat
Yeah.
parang lalo pa siyang pumogi, di ba?
Yeah.
Nung he
Naging
got
meme
that
eh. 'Cause
sugat, di
everyone
ba?
was sharing it.
Oo di ba? Parang lalo pa siyang gumwapo eh. But, he's not the limelight, spotlight kind of guy. He's just chill and, he just, does what needs to be done. And I'm hoping he continues that because that's what Gilas needs moving forward. Someone who'll just be, stable and
Mm-mm.
composed. No?
Yeah.
In a way, he kind of reminds me of Jimmy or Gabe because that's what Gabe and Jimmy were.
Yeah.
They were always composed. No, I mean, we have the Gilas teams of the past were known for being very emotional teams, diba? With emotional players, diba? We had Asi, we had Calvin, we had Terence,
Ingris.
diba? We had Ping, diba?
Yeah.
Guys who were extremely emotional, and if they were on an emotional high, they could carry the team. But at the same
Mhm.
time, if we were on an emotional low as a team, we also didn't play so well.
Yeah.
But with Dwight, even Balti's, he's a stable guy. So
Mm.
that's another exciting element for me to have young guys that look like they have the maturity level beyond their years already. That's also why if you ask Coach Jong or Coach Yeng, because I talked to Coach Yeng a few nights ago, they're all excited to see these guys in the PBA already. Kasi parang new breed talaga to eh. Physically
Yeah.
speaking, even mentally and emotionally
Yeah.
speaking, they're a different breed of a different generation of players eh. So I really hope, Dwight continues this win streak and this streak of playing really, really well.
Yeah, si Dwight nga when I followed him in Instagram, yun, wala pa siyang followers. Kasi yun nga sinasabi mo, when you check social media now, I think he has like 100,000 followers on Instagram already.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's also because parang he appears on kasi girlfriend niya
KKD.
si KKD and they have
Yeah,
like a vlog thing.
yeah,
Someone linked me to it. Para ako,
yeah,
oh okay, so apparently he has a vlog too. So
yeah.
I think that's created a bit of a following as well for him.
Yeah, yung vlog nga daw, because I don't watch it also like you, but then my friends watch it yata. And then they were like, "Oh, Dwight's like not NR naman. Like he has a funny he's kind of funny when he likes the topic."
Yeah, actually, I never saw it before. I think it was last week when someone shared the YouTube link with me. Na, oh, Enzo, you gotta watch this. Dwight's funny pala. Parang ako, okay. So, when I watched it, oh, nakakatawa pala siya. Parang may dry humor siya, di ba?
uh
And since then, I've actually watched a few of those videos. Nakakatawa. I mean, nakakatawa sila ni KKD. I mean,
yeah.
there's a kasi KKD seems like the more outgoing,
Yeah.
ano ba, obviously funny character eh.
Mm-mm.
And then Dwight's the parang, okay, I'm cool,
Yeah.
I'm chill, parang ganun lang
Yeah.
siya.
Yeah, and si Dwight nga, all my friends also na girls, like they don't watch basketball and then siguro na-miss rin nila yung basketball, pinanood nila yung ibang games ngayon or kahit highlights. Syempre, napansin lang nila si Dwight and then they were like, oh, who's this? Diego, ganyan. I was like, oh, Dwight Ramos. He's like, grabe, ang pogi pala dyan. Ganun. Then I'm like, wow, siya lang yung kilala mo. And they were like, they're willing to cover the games na daw of before Lasal yan. And I was like, oh, sige, basta Ateneo Lasal, ikaw na magko-cover. It's like, yeah, sure. Sabi ko, iba
Yes,
yung,
well, yeah, he's gonna. I mean, he already is a poster boy, for
yeah.
kind of like an unwilling poster boy for Gilas, and eventually for Ateneo, and eventually for the whole UAAP as a league. No, I mean,
Mm.
he's gonna be that guy. But I hope it doesn't get to his head. I
Mm.
hope he continues to be chill and composed and stable
Yeah.
because apart from his physical gifts, I think that's one of his biggest strengths. So
Yeah, iba
sana,
yung
sana.
hakot niya sa fans and yun nga yung impressive pa rin pala na isa pa is sa US yata nung naglalaro siya, hindi ganito kalaki yung following or yung crowd
Oh
na
yeah,
support sa
no,
kanya. Pagdating dito, parang walang nangyari, same pa rin siya. Yun yung
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. So
Mm.
hopefully that continues. Nga. There was, I think it was 1 year ago or 2 years ago before the pandemic, Ateneo played in I think it was Iloilo or Zamboanga. They played in an all Jesuit school tournament,
Yeah,
like an
I
all
think.
Ateneo tournament.
Yeah.
And si Dwight, hindi pa siya
Yeah.
sikat nun. He wasn't really on
Yeah.
TV yet, but siya na yung pinagkakaguluhan, dinudubog ng mga tao. And I remember Gio telling me na, of course, yung buong team dinudumog, pero iba yung kay Dwight. As in
Saint Dwight.
talagang,
Yun yata yun yung Saint.
oh, yeah. Tapos, yung Saint
Yeah.
Dwight, diba? There was someone behind him who was
Yeah.
just doing that and touching him and something, diba? And he was like, who's this guy? Parang
Yeah.
ganun.
Yeah.
So, but he was all chill and everything. He might have sabi ni Gio, parang Dwight was kind of shocked
Mm.
by it, but he was just chill. Parang okay, all right. So okay, hi, hello, take a picture here, take a picture there, and
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, hopefully he continues to be that kind of guy with that kind of temperament moving forward.
So yeah, so I think that's all we have, the time we have. Ang haba nga ng usapan because we like really talking about basketball. Like when I talk to my friends, it's really this long also. We don't notice like the time sometimes when we talk. And yeah, thank you so much again, Enzo, for joining me here on the DVD show. But before you go, I have like fun questions lang to ask. It's not really like serious questions that I also ask my other guests. So one of it is if you had a choice to have dinner with 5 people, dead or
Oh
alive,
my god,
like it doesn't need to be like athletes or media personnel. It can be anyone. Who would you choose? And yeah, who would you choose?
5 people, dead or alive. So pwedeng sobrang long
Mm-mm.
ago pa, parang ganun. Man, okay. I have some cheesy answers. The first one would probably be Saint Ignatius, no, of Loyola.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
patron saint ng Ateneo, obvious reasons. I mean, I've been Ateneo prep until college,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty no-brainer answer.
Mm-hmm.
Second, maybe, second would be maybe Jose Rizal. I mean, he's a
Yeah.
national hero, and I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to pick his because I'm a writer, diba? So I want to pick his brain about writing as well. And I kind of want to ask him, okay, of all the girls who were linked to you, who was the one you really loved the most?
Yeah.
Parang ganyan.
Yeah. Dami.
Ang dami, di
Yeah.
ba? Crazy, right? Ano siya, chick boy pala.
Mm-mm.
Third, on a personal level, maybe my paternal grandfather, because I never met him. He was the only I met my lolo and my two lolas. He was the only grandparent I didn't meet, so maybe him.
Yeah.
Fourth and fifth would be basketball na. Fourth, fourth would probably be Kaloy Saga. You know,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, many people consider him maybe the greatest Filipino player of all time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he represented the Philippines both, I think, at the World Cup and the Olympics. So I'd have so many questions for him about his experience playing at that level, at that atmosphere. Fifth, fifth would be Michael Jordan, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure whom you consider the GOAT, Diego, but
Jordan also.
there you go.
Yeah.
From my
Yeah.
generation, it was really always going to be MJ. So, and that's not to say that LeBron's bad or Kobe's
Yeah.
bad. Those are amazing players too. I'd love to talk with MJ. You know, I mean, I watched The Last Dance, but I feel like he probably has more stories to tell, and I want to pick his brain about those as well. Maybe some more behind the scenes stuff about Phil Jackson or the Bulls, or his days playing baseball, his days with the Wizards, and why he picked Kwame Brown for Charlotte, diba? Parang
Naging
what?
issue yan eh.
Parang bakit
Recently.
sa, diba? I mean, how do you feel about that and all those
Yeah.
things? So maybe those five people, yeah.
That's a great list for me. And for the next question, it's also just for fun. And who do you think I should guest here on the DVD show? Like, kasi by podcast is not only basketball. Any sport like locally. I haven't had any international guests yet because it's kind of hard to get them. But locally, I've guested like But then a lot of them are basketball kasi syempre yun yung favorite ko. But yeah, who are your suggestions that I can have here on the DVD show?
Well, since it's an Olympic year, I think having any of our Olympic athletes would be a pretty good choice. No, I mean, I think Heidelin is
Mm-hmm.
is going to be in the Olympics, so I think she would be maybe a good choice. EJ Obiena also, the pole vault. Is he a pole vaulter? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he is. I think he's a good choice also. Some of the other, I think we have maybe a karate or taekwondo Jin
Hmm.
who's going to make it or
Kurt
something. So
Barbosa, I think.
yeah, so there you go. So any of the Olympic athletes, I think, would be a good choice. If you want, people with big social media following, ano ba, maybe Pauline Lopez,
Mm.
taekwondo, maybe Maxine Esteban from
Fencing. Yeah.
fencing. Um, so there you go. Maybe Jarvie or Harvey Gayoso from
Mm.
the Ascals, or anybody from the Ascals, because I think they're gonna play in the qualifiers for something. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's for the World Cup or for
Yeah.
another tournament, but they're gonna play, diba?
Yeah.
So maybe someone from those teams as well. No? From basketball, I don't know. Maybe when Balti comes back, you can guest him and then ask him,
Okay.
"Ano ba, Balti? Are you gonna be a small forward or are you gonna go back to playing center
Yeah.
or power forward for us?" So there you go.
Yeah, that's a great list. And I think also when I guested Mosey Ravenna, yeah, she also mentioned that I should guess like the Olympians because maybe not a lot of people also know like their journey
Yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, maybe I can work on that and yeah, hopefully they're not busy training also. Yeah. So yeah, that's all the time we have. Enzo, thank you again for joining me here on the DVD show. And do you have any final words?
Well, thank you, Diego, and thank you for providing this platform for sports fans, sports media, athletes to share their thoughts, share their insights. I think one of the good things, I guess, that this pandemic has done is it's really um, provided opportunities for a lot of people to be creative and to leverage their platforms. No, and I think you're doing exactly that with this podcast or this vlog, and I hope you
Mm.
continue it. And more power to you. Of course, as always, keep safe and take care. More power to you. I'm Dila Salyan, and even if I'm Atenean, more power to the Green Archers for the coming
Yeah.
UAAP season.
Yeah. So before you go, is it okay if we take a picture?
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Okay, I'll take it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much again, Enzo. Yeah, stay safe.
Yeah, ingat. Take care. Have a good weekend, Diego.
Yeah, have a good weekend. Thank you.